Hi, my name is Ellen Sweetenham, and we're here at Wellington International for our three-star Grand Prix qualifier. First into the ring, we'll have Margie Goldstein-Ingles aboard Deaconess. This is a long-term partnership for Margie. Deaconess is a 15-year-old bay gelding, recently fifth in the American Gold Cup in Traverse City this summer, and she's our first one into our ring to take on our three-star Grand Prix qualifier. Time allowed is set at 75 seconds here. And Margie just getting ready around the ring, just giving Deaconess a look around before she approaches the first jump. You can see Margie just picking up her canter as she comes down to the Palm Beach Oxer at 1. Really cruising around to 2. Riders don't know at this stage how tight the time allowed is going to be, so it's really focusing on moving up where they can. Unfortunately, that jump just not coming up the distance she wanted and having that front rail down. And then coming down to our Bainbridge Oxer at 3, and then straight down to our Arthur Mid Vet vertical at 4. Round the corner to 5, the Kubota double, and then cruising down to the Oxer at 6. You can see Margie really flowing down this line here to the Ida development double, and then you can see her really moving up around the bend here. This plank is very skinny, so you just have to be careful. You might land a little bit dead off number 8 to make sure you push down the line to 9 to get that distance. As you can see, she keeps moving up around the bend. As I said, riders are unaware how tight the time allowed is at this stage as she's the first one in. So it's just important to make sure that she's using her corners correctly and also just not lingering around them. Really nice jump into the Flagler double at 11A and B, and then really keeping her contact down to 12, the Oxer. So Margie just picking up 4 faults there and a time of 69.44. So well inside her time allowed as of now. The time allowed is set at 75 seconds.
A knockdown penalty of 4 at the area. Defense number 2 forfeit 69.44 is the first rider reference. Time allowed again is 75.
Second in to take on this course is Georgina Bloomberg. She is aboard Tulara Colmine. This is a long-term partnership for Georgina. Recently, a top 10 finish at the three-star Grand Prix at the Siler Ridge Masters, and also winning the three-star Grand Prix or Welcome Stake in Traverse City this summer. So they are seasoned to the ring, returning now to Wellington after their summer in New York and just getting experience inside in this ring at a three-star level. You can see Georgina really coming collected to the first Oxer at 1. Nice tight back to the area and vertical at 2. She would have watched Margie and seen that the time isn't super tight, but also Margie didn't linger around any of her bends. So it's just important to keep that pace around the corner down to the Bainbridge triple bar at 3. And then a good contact down to the Arthur Mid Vet vertical at 4. The turn back to the Kubota double is a little bit difficult around that bend, but she rode that super well. And then she's keeping her contact down to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer, and then keeping that canter down to the Ida development double. Here's another spot where you can kind of go a little bit tighter to this plank, but you have to be a little bit careful. Unfortunately, Georgina having that down, but then just keeping her canter down to the Oxer then at 9. This is a bit more of an open space again. Coming back to the Oxer, it's important to move up around that bend, but also square off before coming to that Oxer. She goes nice around to the Flagler double of verticals here. And then just keeping her canter and keeping him square down to the very square Oxer at 12. Unfortunately, that just coming down the front rail of the number 12 coming down. So that's a total of 8 faults and a time of 74.08. Time allowed again is 75 seconds. So Georgina wasn't too wide in a lot of places, but she just kept her canter and she was nice and tight, but just 1 second inside of that time allowed. Next, we have Nikki Hurt into the ring, and she's aboard Fandora. This is a new ride for her. She took over the ride at the end of the summer, and I think this is just to practice, kind of continue their development together and learning on the job together. You can see she's a nice open canter down to the Palm Beach Oxer at 1. Keeping a nice turn back to the RM vertical at 2. So 2 to 3 is really a spot where you can go tight and move up to watch that time allowed. Really nice jump over the Bainbridge triple bar at 3 and keeps her contact end down to the vertical at 4. She's nice and tight back to the Kubota double. Really nice pace here, keeping her canter at all times. This course seems that a lot of the jumps just keep coming up. You don't have much time to think. It's really one after another. Nice jump over the Ida development double and then just getting her canter back before she jumps this skinny plank at 8. Super jump over that. Landed a little bit dead and she knew to just move up down that line to get her distance. Really nice jump over 9. Keeping her canter back to 10. Nice and square. You could see she moved up and made sure she got square back to that Oxer. Keeping nice and straight down to the Flagler double of verticals, and then just having him in her hand down to the Oxer at 12. Really nice clear around there, but unfortunately just picking up the 2-time false there for Nikki Hurt and Fandora.
Excellent jumping effort for Nicolette and Fandora. 2 on the clock. And that's your leader here early on. Tone sounds now from Baroness Leanne Abian's entry, Palm Beach, Florida. Venezuelan rider Luis Fernando Larrazabal. Winner in Ottawa, Rockwood, and Lexington on his summer tour. 4th in the Tryon Qualifier Major League event. Olympic rider Luis Larrazabal.
Next we have Luis Fernando Lazabal aboard Baroness. They had several placings during WEF of last year and now have returned back into the ring here at Wellington International. You can really see him getting that canter opening up before he comes to the first Oxer at 1. Really nice jump over 1. You can see him concentrating on getting that nice turn back to the REM vertical at 2. These riders know their horses quite well. They know that if time is going to be an issue for them or where they can move up and where is best for their horse. You can really see him. He moved around the corner from 2 to 3. And then a nice turn back to the Kubota double at 5. And then continue on with his canter down to the PalmBeachSports.com Oxer. Here it's kind of hard to make up that time because it's a related line, so there's not much room to change the distance that's already set there. He's nice and tight around to the plank at 8. Really nice jump over that and just continues to have him in his hand down to number 9. And then a scopy jump over number 9. You can see him really moving up here. And then just making sure he's square back to that purple Oxer. Keeping his canter around a bend to the double of verticals. With a double of verticals, you really have to have your horse in your hand here, but having that pace underneath you. And then a nice flowing canter down to 12. Really nice there. So that was a clear round, so he's our first into our jump off. And he'll return after the end of everybody to jump off.
And our first to return a visit. Well, let's go P. Next to follow Genevieve Meyer from Rancho Santa Fe, California for G Sport Horses Limited partnership.
Next into the ring we have Genevieve Meyer. She's aboard Ollie Scopy. This combination had a super successful summer in Europe, jumping in both a 3-star and a 4-star level. And now they've returned back here to Wellington. Really nice jump over the Oxer at 1. Keeping her canter. She goes nice and tight back to the Arion vertical. With some horse and rider combinations, some know it's better to move up around the bend and go a little bit wider, or some it's easier to keep that contact and go a little bit deeper. That number 3 just not coming up with the distance she wanted, having the back bar of that triple bar down. But you can see her moving up back around to the Kubota double, keeping her leg on and keeping that canter. And then a really nice distance down to the Ida developments. You can see her moving up with her leg, but also keeping that connection. to the plank at 8. Nice jump over that. That distance came up really nice for her. Some people have landed off 8 and have to hold down to that oxer, but it really came up really nice for her. Moving up again around the bend, the big oxer, and then keeping her horse in her hand down to the flagler double of verticals. Really nice, and then just holding down to the oxer at 12. Just picking up the 4 faults at number 3, and then also 3 time faults. Next into the ring we have Cormac Hanley aboard for Dad. Cormac is representing Ireland. This combination stepped up to the FAI level in February of last year during the WEF season here, and are just continuing to develop their partnership throughout the summer. You can see Cormac really getting his canter down to 1, having the horse really in his hand, really listening. Nice, really tight turn back to the Ariane vertical at 2. And then you can see him, he goes a little bit wider but moves up his canter back to the Bainbridge oxer at 3. That distance just not coming around the bend the way he wanted, unfortunately having that down. But recovered well to keep going back to the vertical. Then nice turn back to the Kubota double. Just collecting himself down to the Palm Beach Sports oxer. And then just making sure the horse is listening to him down the Ida Developments double. Keeping a canter but collecting back to this skinny plank at 8. Riding that distance really nice to 9. You can see him move up his canter here back to this oxer. We've had a mixed review on the time, depends on the rider and the horse, so these riders know their horses quite well to know if they need to move up. Really nice over the double of verticals 11. And then just keeping his contact down to 12. That was just an unlucky fence there at number 3, having that down, so that gives him a total of 4 faults and a time of 72.38.
USA's Richard Neal now, Catamaico LS. Richard is the owner and rider from here in Wellington, representing the U.S. Richard with placings in Saugerties, Ocala, Tryon, and Huronwet along his summer trail. We welcome in the USA's Richard Neal.
Next into the ring we have Richard Neal aboard Cape Maco LS. This is a 13-year-old bay gelding. They had a successful summer this year, picking up some top placings in both New York, Tryon, and also in WEC. So they've returned back here to our Wellington ring, and they have a really nice jump over 1. A good tight turn back to the Ariane vertical at 2. He chooses to go nice and wide back to this triple bar at 3, the Bainbridge triple bar, and then keeps a canter down to Arthur Mid-Vet vertical at 4. Nice and tight back to the Kubota double. He goes out a little bit on that distance to fit in that distance down to the Palm Beach Sports oxer. And then a little bit direct down to the Ida Developments double. Really nice so far. Keeping that canter around his bend. Nice jump over the plank. That distance came up really nice for him down to 9. You can see him opening up a little bit. Making sure he has that canter underneath him. Coming to the square oxer. And then you can just see him slowing down a bit. A little bit tight back to the flagler double of verticals. And then keeping his contact down to 12. Really nice. That gives our second into our jump off. Clear around there and a time of 72.21.
Catamaico LS and Richard. Assurance of the time jump off 72.21 is their time, and they're clear. Richard Neal, our second clear. Tone sounds now for Nikki Galligan in the Santa Rosa group. VDL Nikita van der Lure. Belgian Warm Blood. Eyes of all VDL.
Next, we have Nicky Galligan representing Ireland. He is aboard VDL Nikita van der La Hoek. This is a 11-year-old grey mare. They were clear in the 1m40 Brain Bridge class yesterday, and then just coming into our 3-star here today.
Top placings this summer in Old Salem, Silo Ridge, Saugerties, and Upperville. Again, the Irish rider Nikki.
Really nice connection there to 1, keeping a nice turn back to the Ariam vertical at 2. And then you can see him just moving up around the corner there to the triple bar. As I said, some riders will choose to go a little bit tighter to that, but some like to go wide and make sure they have that canter. Really nice distance down to the vertical at 4. Nice tight back turn to the Kubota double. Nice direct line back to the Palm Beach Oxer. And then he comes out a little bit to fit that distance into the Ida Development double. Nice and tight, collecting himself back to the plank at 8. Nice jump over that. And then just riding down that line to 9. You can see moving up here again. Nikki will know if the time is going to be an issue for him at this stage. So making sure he gets a good canter around to that Oxer. Getting square back to the Flagler double of verticals. Keeping his canter down then to the Oxer at 12. That's giving us another clear back to back. He was clear in a time of 72.98.
A 3 pack now for the jump off. Luis Fernando Razabal, Richard Neal, and Nikki Galligan. Anamia, Delaney Flynn now.
Next we have Delaney Flynn riding Namamiya. Delaney is ranked in the top 60 of the FEI under 25 rankings. This combination were second in a 3-star Grand Prix in Kentucky, and the pair has really had a consistent summer, and now returning back to Wellington.
Challenge Series for Salem, Traverse City for Saugerties. This is the USA with Delaney Flynn.
Delaney getting that nice canter down to 1. Delaney knows this mare very well, so knows where she can make up time for her. Really nice jump over 2. She got nice and tight there. Keeping her canter down to 3. And really nice jump over 4. You can see Delaney getting nice and tight back to the double here. Mare jumping super well. Good jump over the Oxer. And then riding the Ida Development double at a more direct line. Getting herself collected back to this plank at 8. And riding that forward line down to 9. You can see really having to push after 8. Delaney pushing up now around the corner. Making sure she has that canter back to the Oxer. Really nice round so far. Square back to her Flagler double of verticals. And then keeping that canter down to 12. There we go. Another clear again. Delaney goes clear in a time of 72.77.
Four clearances. We welcome in Argentina, Luis Pedro Virlan in Vasco 109 for Miguel Madero and Luis Pedro. 565 is our tentative show.
We have a total of 4 clears so far, and we welcome in Luis Pedro Barabin aboard Vasco 109.
Series as well as top 3 finishes in the Kentucky Spring Grand Prix as winner in Kentucky in ranking classes.
This combination were recently 3rd in a 3-star welcome stake in Tryon. And now they come back here to us in Wellington, preparing before the WEF season. Really nice jump over 1. He got nice and tight to 2, a little rub of it, but stayed up. Good canter down to the triple bar at 3. Nice contact to 4. Nice and tight back to the Kubota double. Some riders will know what's best for the horse is that summer they can make up time by coming in nice and tight to that Kubota double. Some will choose to go a little bit wider and make up times in other places. Really nice down to the Ida development double. Keeping that contact, really collecting himself to the plank at 8. He opens up a little bit down to the Oxer at 9. Some horses land off a plank a little bit dead, so to get that distance you just have to move up a little bit. Opening up his canter, then back to the Oxer. And then once again collecting himself. As I said, a lot of these jumps come up super fast. So the first part of that double vertical is coming down. And then clear over number 12. Just a little bit around that corner. The distance just didn't come up the way he would like it to do. But still 4 falls in a time of 72.47.
Combination recently third in the American Gold Cup. Top placings in Lexington, Travers, and here at West.
Next we have Michael Morrissey aboard Incento SA. This combination were recently third in the American Gold Cup in Traverse City this summer. And really a partnership that is growing and developing together. You can really see Michael opening up his canter down the long side before he approaches number 1. Nice scopy jump over 1. Keeping a tight turn back to the Arion vertical at 2. Getting that nice canter down to the triple bar 3. That distance coming up quite nice for him. And then flowing down to Arthur Midvet vertical at 4. Nice jump over the Kubota double. Going at a bit of an outside line to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. And again, just riding that outside line to the Ida Developments double. Unfortunately, just getting the second part of that double down. Nice foot. He just floated around to the plank. He really trusts his horse to come around there at a nice distance. And very, very nice down to 9. Keeping his pace up as he comes around this bend. And then just collecting himself again. Keeping the contact to the double verticals. And then just adjusting back down to this big Oxer at 12. So unfortunately just picking up the 4 falls, but overall a really nice round in a time of 71.03. So our time allowed is set at 75 seconds, so it doesn't seem to be a huge issue for these riders. They've seen a few now, they know exactly where they can make up the time and where they can make sure that they're inside that time allowed. Next, representing the United States of America, we have Hallie Grimes. She is aboard Chicago PS. This combination recently coming third in a 3-star Grand Prix in Tryon, with also a 5th place in a 2-star Grand Prix in Traverse City. Hallie really nice coming to the first Oxer at 1. Keeping a nice contact back to the Arion vertical at 2. You can see Hallie really going out to use her corner back to this triple bar at 3. And keeping her contact down to 4. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Riding a nice direct line to the Palm Beach Oxer. And again, nice direct line to the Ida Developments double. Nice, keeping nice and tight back to 8, that plank. And Hallie just leaving him carry that distance down to the Oxer. Opening up once again. And getting square back to the purple Oxer here. Collecting herself, making sure she's square into this double of verticals. Nice jump over A, super over B, and then just floating down to the nice square oxer at 12. That's really good, giving us another clear round here. That's giving us a total of 5 clears so far.
Up to 5 now on the good list for the jump off for our Archibald vet from Prix. 5 have gone clear. We've seen 12 of 40 feet in the Archibald vet from Prix. Captain Brian Cornane of the USA for the Glengley Farm here in Wellington.
Next into the ring we have Brian Kiernan. He is aboard Castlefields Dreams. This is a 13-year-old grey gelding. This combination were recently 6 in a 5-star in Traverse City and then also a top 10 finish in a 3-star speed in Kentucky. Really nice jump over 1. You can see him coming super tight back to the Arian vertical at 2. Riding a nice line back to 3, not going too wide, but also not cutting that corner too much. That is a very big triple bar also, so riders can't come too tight back to it. They have to make sure they have that canter underneath them. Using his corner back to the Kubota double. Coming at a bit of a more of an outside bend back to the Palm Beach Oxer. Again to the Ida Developments double. A little bit wider back to the plank at 8, but that came up super nice for him. You can see him just having to take that hole down. This is the difference between some horses. Some rider and horse combinations can float down that distance super easy. Some have to take a little bit of a hold back. He really opened up his canter down around to the Oxer. At 10, getting square back to the double verticals at 11. And cantering down to that square Oxer at 12. Unfortunately, just having the front bar of that Oxer at 12 down, giving him a total of 4 faults in a time of 74.46. Next into the ring we have Ashley Vogel aboard Otis Blue. Otis Blue is a 10-year-old grey gelding. Ashley recently taking over the ride of him from trainer Shane Sweetnam. And Ashley just returning from her tour in Mexico after a really consistent few weeks there. Really nice jump over 1 and 2. She made sure to get nice and tight to 2. Nice jump over the triple bar at 3. And that distance of 4 came up really nice for her. You can see this horse is really scopy. Takes a bit of time in the air, which I'm sure Ashley's aware of. Unfortunately, just having the second part of that Kubota double down. She's riding down into the Ida Development Oxer. Very nice into that double. Keeping tight back to 8. This horse does take his time in the air, so Ashley definitely was tied around to 8 to make sure that she's watching that time allowed. And you can really see her here opening up her canter, trying to make up those seconds. Nice jump over the Oxer at 10. Really tight back to the Flagler double of verticals. And then just really keeps him in her hand down to 12. That was really nice. Just unfortunately picking up that 4 faults in a time of 71.09. So time wasn't an issue for her, but you could definitely see that she was aware of it.
Spencer Britton now for the USA. Unistar Dyson Beck Zagner's by Untouchable 27.
Next into the ring we have Spencer Britton aboard Unstar Dyson Beck Z. This is a new combination for these two. recently taking over the ride from Rebecca Conway. Unfortunately, just having the back bar of 1 down. Nice turn back to the RM vertical at 2. Opened up his canter down to the triple bar. And that distance came up really nice for him down to that vertical. Keeping his canter around to the Kubota double. Unfortunately, just having that front jump down. And just collect himself back again to the out of development double once again. Just picking up a pole again at that second bar of the double. Nice jump over the plank. Good flowing canter down to 9. That distance came up super well for him. You can see him keeping his canter. Not opening up that much, just making sure the horse has a good rhythm back to this oxer. Nice turn back to 11. Having the front jump down. And then cantering down to our oxer at 12. Again, just having the front rail of that oxer down. That gives him a total of 20 jumping falls and then just 1 time also. So a total of 21.
P4 VH coach in warm blood. USA Sarah Happy rides for Mixtape Syndicate LLC 1252.
Next, we have the USA Sarah Happy aboard P4 VH. This is a 9-year-old chestnut gelding. This combination we're 6th in a 3-star in Tryon. And we're also double clear and 4th in a 3-star in Socrates.
USA Sarah Happy with placings in Tryon, Socrates, Lexington, and Myers City along her summer tour.
Okay, Sarah having a really nice canter over the first couple of jumps, really nice and neat over everything. Coming back to the Kubota double, unfortunately just having that second part down. Sarah riding a nice bending line back to the Palm Beach oxer. Keeping her bend to the out of development double. You can see her really collecting herself around this bend. The horse seems to be just a little bit hopped down to this plank, but jumping that super well, super careful. And that distance came up really nice for her down to that oxer. You can see her opening up her canter and getting square back to the purple oxer at 10. And once again just collecting herself, making sure that horse is riding between her hand and leg before approaching the Flagler double of verticals. And a nice jump over the very, very square oxer at 12. Unfortunately just coming out with the 4 falls and then 2 time falls also and a time of 76.24.
Playboy JTZ, Charlotte Jacobs now for North Star, East Aurora, New York. 9-year-old Sangerside by Presley Boy. Charlotte Jacobs with a top 3 Kentucky Invitational Grand Prix finish, as well as a win this spring in Thunderbird. Also a winner in the Welcome, as well as Traverse City Grand Prix on her summer tour. USA's Charlotte.
Next into the ring we have Charlotte Jacobs aboard Playboy JTZ. This combination were 5th in the World Cup qualifier in Traverse City, and also Charlotte returning to Wellington here after a very, very successful summer. This combination has continued to grow in their partnership. She did a really nice jump over 1, keeping tight back to 2. Charlotte knows this horse super well and knows exactly where she can make up time while also making sure that he has that time to get those jumps. Really nice jump over 3 and 4. That distance coming up nice for her. Tight turn back to the Kubota double. And nice bending line to that Palm Beach Sports oxer. Riding at a little bit of an outside to the out of development double. and really collecting herself back to this plank. Super jump over that. Charlotte just letting him flow down to this oxer at 9. And then opening up her canter. This is really somewhere where you can make up time if you need to. Squaring off to the oxer at 10. Getting herself collected before approaching the flagler double of verticals. Really nice jump over A and B. And then just keeping him in her hand as she floats down to that oxer. Really nice. Really nice clear there in a time of 70.60.
Six clear, Louise Lorazabal, Richard Neal, Nikki Galligan, Delaney Flynn, Callie Grimes, and now the USA's Charlotte Jones. Self-Francais Brenda Lewis here, and USA's Alexander Worthington are next. Turn Blind Eye LLC is the ownership, and the USA's Alexander Worthington is the owner.
Next we have Alexandra Worthington into the ring representing the US.
Top 5 placings recently in the Grand Prix Qualifier and Trial.
She's aboard her 11-year-old chestnut gelding. These combinations have had a really successful summer, second in a 2-star in Tryon, while also having a consistent summer in New York. Really nice so far to 1 and 2, getting a nice canter down to her triple bar at 3, and holding him down to the vertical at 4. You can see her coming nice and tight back to the Kubota double, and then really riding that bending line back to the Palm Beach Sports oxer. You could see her come out again to the Ida Developments double. These horse and rider combinations really know what works for them, how tight they need to go down to that bending line, or if they need to move out a little bit or more direct. That distance coming up super nice from 8 to 9 for her. And again, you can see her opening up her canter. She knows that this is somewhere where she needs to move up to keep inside the time allowed. Nice and square back to the flagler double of verticals, and then just keeping that pace down to the oxer at 12. Really nice clear around there in a time of 69.57. So well inside of our time allowed. That's giving us a total of 7 clears so far.
Talking Toledo PS, Oldenburg, Jonathan McCrae, USA rider for the Windsor Show Stables. Jonathan recently had 2 top finishings in the Lexington Grand Prix, second in Saugerties Grand Prix, Old Salem, and Traverse City placings. USA's Jonathan McCrae.
Next we have the USA's John McCrae aboard his 9-year-old Bay Gelding Chaquilineo PS. You can see John really getting his canter down to the Palm Beach oxer at 1. Nice tight turn to the Arian vertical at 2. That distance came up really nice for him there to the triple bar at 3. Floating down to the Arthur Mid-Vet vertical at 4. Kubota double coming up nice. Keeping that distance down to his Ida Development double. Scurrying back to his plank at 8. And opening up there down to his oxer at 9. You can see John really opening up his canter around the bend to make sure he has that power underneath him if he needs to take that adjustment back to the oxer. And then collect himself again before coming to the double of verticals. And then a nice jump over 12. John just picking up that 4 falls at the Bainbridge triple bar at 3, but overall a good round inside the time allowed.
86, that'll rank in 12th. LaBelle S. and Ties Irwin, Middleburg, Virginia, the Australian rider, up next. LaBelle S. Michael Smith is the owner from Middleburg, Virginia, and Olympic Australian rider
Next we have Thaisa Irwin into the ring aboard La Belle ES. Thaisa is representing Australia, and she has returned to us here in Wellington after a successful summer in Europe, and also this combination taking 4th place in a 5-star 2 phase at the Washington International this year. Really scopy jump over 1. You can see Thaisa coming nice and tight back to the Ariane vertical at 2. Riding that line back to the Bainbridge triple bar very nicely, and then just taking a bit of an adjustment down to 4. All of these riders would have walked all these distances and known exactly what suits their horse. Unfortunately, that front jump of the Kubota double just not coming up the way she wanted around the corner, so having that down. Again, just pushing up around the corner. She's really using her corner back to the plank at 8 and pushing. That was a nice scopy jump over 8, so she had to land and push down to make sure she got that distance to 9. Opening up her canter, making sure she has that power underneath her back to this big oxer. Using her corner nice and tight back to the double of verticals. And then just pushing down to make sure she has that contact down to the Liverpool at 12. Unfortunately, just picking up that 4 false there in a time of 73.09.
Irish rider Simon McCarthy joins us next. Narkeen van Dingenhoff by Harley Video. 996, we'll ask you to stand by, Simon. We do have a broken rail coming in right now.
Simon McCarthy will go in next. We just seem to have a broken rail inside the ring as of now. So just waiting on Jump Crew to grab that pole and bring it in before he will get the bell.
Winner of Wilton Stakes 3 stars and Oaks Hill is second in 4 stars.
This combination coming second in a 3-star Welcome Stake in Kentucky, and also third in a 5-star speed at the Washington International Horse Show. Seems like all the jumps are back up and ready to go. Simon just getting the bell and collect himself before he approaches the first jump. Nice jump over 1. You can see Simon going super tight back to the Ariane vertical at 2. Keeping his canter to the Bainbridge triple bar. And having to take a hold down that distance. Keeping tight to the Kubota double. Riding a nice direct line down to the Palm Beach Sports oxer. And again, using that bending for the Outer Developments double. Keeping a tight line to the plank at 8. And opening up down to that distance at 9. Simon really keeping that canter, making sure he has that rhythm back to the oxer at 10. And then you'll see him just take a bit of an adjustment, make sure he's square. Horse seems to be a little bit hot, so Simon's just concentrating making sure he has that contact down to 12. Perfect, clear. And a very fast time of 66.67 for Simon McCarthy. We just have 1 remaining before our drag break here. That will be Niall Nassar aboard ESI Ali. This combination was 5th in a 2-star qualifier at Greenwich and also winning that Grand Prix there at Greenwich. So just stepping up to the 3-star level here.
In the world, and CSI3 teamed up recently in Greenwich for 1-2 ranking class placings.
Niall jumping on the major league circuit.
At wholesale and fall events.
Super successful through his summer in New York and also traveling to Europe.
Three-time World Cup representative, WEG championships and Olympic rider.
Really nice over 1. Doesn't seem to come too tight back to the RM vertical at 2. That distance for 3 coming up nice for him. And he just really had to sit there and float down to that vertical at 4. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Riding that bending line to the Oxer. Again, coming a little bit of more of a direct line to the Ida Developments double. Nice turn back to the plank at 8. That distance coming up really nice for him, just floating down to 9. Keeping the canter. And nice adjustments back to the Oxer at 10. Unfortunately, just having that back bar down. Squaring off before the double of verticals here at 11. And keeping his horse within his hand and leg down to the Oxer at 12. Really nice. Just having the 4 falls there in a time of 74.21. We have a total of 8 clears so far. We're just going to have a break here. We're going to redo the surface, just dragging the rings. Just before we do that, we would like to say a thank you to Arthur Mid Vet for their continuous support. Arthur Mid Vet is a trusted name in veterinary medicine around the world. A joint injection that delivers cutting-edge treatment that improves joint health in horses and dogs, including both early and late stages of synovitis and osteoarthritis. For further information, please go to www.arthurmid.com. Thank you very much for Arthur Mid for their support, and we will return for the second half of this course after the drag break.
I'm an athlete, but I don't play with sticks or balls. My equipment breathes. It has a heart and a mind of its own. My equipment has good days and not so good days, and it's my job to be okay with both. Because my equipment works with me, not for me. In the saddle, our hearts sync and we become one. My equipment is my best friend. I'd do anything for my best friend. Ask your veterinarian about Arthur-Med Vet for joint health.
Bainbridge is a fully integrated family of real estate companies who have developed and acquired more than 43,000 units representing $7.5 billion in transactions since inception, with over 650 associates nationally. Bainbridge engages in virtually every step of the real estate process, from development and construction, acquisition and disposition, to asset management and third-party property management of multifamily real estate. Bainbridge is the 10th largest multifamily developer and the 14th largest multifamily builder in the United States. Our team of experienced and knowledgeable professionals is devoted to creating exceptional living experiences for all of our residents and building lasting, mutually beneficial relationships with our partners and clients. To learn more, visit www.bainbridgecompanies.com.
My first goal when I decided to be a professional is to become the best horsewoman I can be. It's really important for me to find a balance with my family, with the horses, that is my passion. Work with the horses every day to do what I love. I used to have one passion was the horses, and now I have two with my daughter. So I really want to have this balance in my life. I'm Marie Ecart, I'm a professional show jumper representing France, and I'm Lola's mom. Be mindful, be present, turn on your brain.
Having been a rider and showing on the East Coast in the hunter jumper worlds on the A circuit, coupled with my experience as an insurance professional with 30 years in the industry, I'm the lucky one that gets to marry my career with my passion. And at Flagler, I get the resources that I really need to do my job as best as possible. I'm Missy Sullivan, the director of the equine division at Flagler Insurance, and I look forward to helping all of you with your insurance needs.
Every day, we get up with one thing on our minds: taking care of the horses we love. Safe Choice continues to be your trusted partner in their overall nutrition, supporting a healthy body, shiny coat, and strong top line. And now with Digestive Shield, it supports your horse's gut health and immune system even more, so they look and feel their best. Safe Choice, now with Digestive Shield. Shield your horse from the inside out.
There's a gentler side of Florida, just waiting for you to discover it, where America's first resort destination was built and genuine hospitality began. A place with cleaner sands, warmer waters, and fewer crowds. A place different than the rest, one that exceeds, excels, and surpasses all expectation, waiting here just for you. We are the original, the one, the only, the Palm Beaches.
Welcome back to Wellington International. My name is Ellen Sweetnam, and we are here for the second half of our 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. We have 8 clears so far. Luis Fernando Lazabel, Richard Neal, Nikki Galligan for Ireland, Delaney Flynn, Hallie Grimes, Charlotte Jacobs, Alexandra Worlington, all representing the US, and also Simon McCarthy for Ireland. We have 23 remaining in the class, several different nations yet to see, and our tractors are just finishing up in our ring, and then we will welcome back our riders back into the ring for our second half here. This class is kindly sponsored by Arthur Midvet. Arthur Midvet is a trusted name in veterinary medicine around the world. A joint injection that delivers cutting-edge treatment that improves joint health in horses and dogs, including both early and late stages of synovitis and osteoarthritis. If you would like to learn more, please go to www.arthurmidvet.com. We have a very talented lineup so far. Some returning Olympians coming back to us here at the Wellington International Ring, and while also a few new combinations entering the ring prior to the WEF season. Many returning from their summers in both Europe for the Olympics, but also touring around Europe a little bit and coming back to us here in Wellington to prepare for the WEF season ahead. This is our 3-star pre-charity week here at Wellington, and we're looking forward to an exciting second half of this class.
Florida Coast Equipment Drags making their way out, refreshing our footing. We get underway with the second half of the Arthur Benfett 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. We have in on the jump-off list, Luis Fernando Lorazabal, Venezuelan rider, Richard Neal from the U.S., Nikki Gallo from
Welcome back to the Wellington International. We're here for our second half of our 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. We have 8 clear so far, and then we have 23 remaining. Next, representing the U.S., we have Marilyn Little aboard La Castella. This combination had a top 10 finish in Tryon in a 3-star Grand Prix, And we're also double clear in the welcome stake and finished 6th in Tryon at the same week.
Top 10 placings in Tryon's Grand Prix as well as other ranking classes. Great placings at Old Salem and Saugerties in the summer. Here in Wellington.
Had a consistent summer in New York and now have returned to us here in Wellington ahead of our WEF season. You can see her getting a nice canter, opening up along the long side to the Oxer at 1. She would have been able to watch the first half of the course and been able to see how the time is, how that suits her horse, where she can make up time if she thinks she needs to. Really nice distance down to the triple bar at 3. A flowing distance down to the Arthur Mid Vet vertical at 4. Keeping a tight turn back to the Kubota double. That bend is a little bit difficult around that corner, but seems to be riding super well so far. And then just riding a bit on the outside bend to the Ida Developments double. Opening up her canter as she landed, but collecting herself again before the plank at 8. Having to move up a little bit, and then holding down to the Oxer at 9. Opening up her canter around the bend to this very square Oxer at 10. You can see her really keeping her canter up, but now focusing on making sure that her horse is between her hand and leg to the double verticals. And then nice canter down to the Oxer at 12. That's a nice start back to our second half. That's a clear in a time of 72.18 for Marilyn Little.
Good morning, being judged by Eldorado
Ansgar Holsker Jr. is next aboard Good Morning B. This combination had a consistent summer in Europe, jumping about a 2-star and a 3-star level, and now has returned back to the US. A really nice scopy jump over 1. You can see he got nice and tight to 2. Unfortunately, just having that jump down, it's not coming up the way he wanted it to do. Adjusting back to the triple bar at 3, and taking that hold down to the Arthur Mid Vet vertical at 4. Keeping his canter around the bend to the Kubota double. Riding that really nice bending line to that Oxer. Really using the bending back to the Ida Developments double. You can see him moving up around the free jump island in the middle of the ring and adjusting back to that plank at 8. That distance coming up super nice for him down there to 9. Opening up his canter. This horse is nice and scopy. Taking some time in the air, making sure that he makes up those times on the ground. Nice and tight, getting square to the double verticals. Unfortunately, just having that front part down. And keeping his horse in his hand down to the Oxer 12. And just having that front bar down also. That's giving him a total of 12 faults and a time of 71.65. So time not being an issue there at all. Celso Luis Cambargo Arani in next aboard Zip Van T and LZ. This combination were clear in the 140 Bainbridge class yesterday. I've now stepped up to the 3-star level here, coming into our Grand Prix qualifier that is kindly sponsored by Arthur Mid Vets. Really nice canter down to the Oxer at 1, keeping that tight turn. Concentrating on squaring up to the Arion vertical at 2. Nice distance down to that triple bar at 3. Letting him open up after that triple bar. Getting that distance. Nice bend back to the Kubota double. Using his bend and his bending line to the oxer. Unfortunately, just having that down. And just collecting himself back to the Ida developments double. That line coming up fast, so it's kind of hard when you have one down to make sure you collect yourself down that distance again. Gathering himself down to the plank at 8. And that distance down to 9 coming up super nice. You can see him just collecting himself once again, keeping that counter up to the oxer at 10. Seems to have lost his shoe over that oxer. We'll keep going, making sure that he has that contact to the double of verticals. Really nice jump over those, and then just moving up in his line down to that square oxer 12. Just picking up that 4 falls at the Palm Beach Sports oxer in a time of 73.32.
Dyson DM42 and Andrew Bourne. Up next, Irish rider Andrew Bourne. And Dyson DM.
Next we have Andrew Bournes representing Ireland on DISA DM42. This is a 10-year-old mare. This horse has competed at a consistent level of 5 stars in both Traverse City and Spruce Meadows this summer. Andrew having a successful summer and now has returned to us here in Wellington. You can see Andrew really opening up there to 1, making sure he comes back nice and tight to 2, and then just using that corner around to the triple bar at 3, and just holding down that distance to the Artemis Vet vertical at 4. Using that bend to the Kubota double, unfortunately just having the back bar of the first part down, using his bending line to the oxer, and then once again he seems to come at a bit more of a direct line to the Ida developments double. Collect himself around that free jump island to the plank at 8, and just having to open up a little bit to the oxer at 9. That distance ride's different for each horse and rider combination. Some will come off that plank very dead and have to push. And then he opened up around the corner before that purple oxer at 10. Keeping his canter but squaring up to the double of verticals. And then just having a nice canter down to that square oxer at 12. Really nice. Just unfortunately just picking up that 4 false at the back bar of that Kubota double, but overall a really good round in a time of 71.57.
USA's Natalie Dean and Tom Tom, All-Star Warm Blood. USA's Natalie Dean, Marigold Sport Horses from Mountain View, California.
Next we have Natalie Dean into the ring, representing the US on Concalma. This is 11-year-old Grey Gelding. And Natalie had a very successful summer with this horse in Europe, jumping up to a 2-star level in Saint-Tropez. And now has come back to us here in Wellington. Natalie touring around Europe this summer while also having a stint in Mexico. Really consistent summer with all of her horses. And now has come back here to Wellington to prepare for the WEF season. You can see she's a really nice canter from 1 to 2, constantly keeping that rhythm. Making sure she has her horse between her hand and leg. That distance coming up really nice for her. Just taking a little bit of a hold down to that vertical. Opening up a little bit, but coming nice and tight to the Kubota double. You can see the horse just fighting her a little bit, but Natalie doing a really good job of just ignoring it and concentrating on the jumps ahead of her. Really nice jump over the Ida developments double. Nice and tight, pushing off the corner to the plank at 8. And just collecting herself down to the oxer at 9. Choosing to open up around this corner. This is a nice place to gather yourself, get your canter underneath you again, making sure you're square to that big oxer. Shows that once again as she comes back to this flagler double of verticals. Nice jump over A and B, and then just keeping her canter down to this square oxer at 12. Really nice. That was a clear in the time of 71.90. She will be our 10th clear as of now. It's a really nice round there and a nice way to return back here to the ring at Wellington International.
Hollywood and USA's Lacey Gilbertson for Seabrook LLC to show now.
Next, we have Lacey Gilbertson into the ring. She is aboard Hollywood. This is a 12-year-old chestnut mare. This combination winning a 3-star Grand Prix in Traverse City this summer, and also clear in a 3-star in Kentucky this fall. Lacey has a really nice string of horses now, and they're really working well together. This has been a long-term partnership of hers. They've been really consistent so far. Really nice jump over 1, nice turn back to 2, keeping it nice and tight. Getting her canter to this triple bar at 3. And just taking that hold with a nice rhythm down to 4. It's important that when you take that adjustment, you can really keep your canter underneath you. Nice and tight back to the Kubota double. Using her bending line to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. And then again, using that outside bending to the Ida Development double. You can see her as she lands off that oxer moving up, but collecting Hollywood back to the plank at 8. And just letting Hollywood flow down to this oxer at 9. And then just gathering herself while also moving up that canter, making sure the time won't be an issue. Back to the oxer at 10. Once again, collecting herself while also having that really good rhythm underneath her. To the flagler double of verticals, over A and B. And then just keeping Hollywood in her hand down to that big square oxer 12. Very nice. And a clear in a time of 71.43.
Israeli runner Roberto Michon now, and joint Canada's Van Horf. Dutch.
Next, into the ring representing Israel, we have Alberto Milchon, aboard John DeCanamus van der Hoy. Alberto took over the ride of this horse in July of this year and won a 2-star speed at Aiken. It's a really nice jump over 1. Doesn't seem too bloody, just has that contact there. Squaring up to 2. It's important to keep the canter around to this triple bar at 3. This related line is also past ingate. At this level, a lot of the 3-star horses won't have a huge issue with the ingate, but it's important that the riders are aware of that. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Unfortunately, just having the back bar of that oxer down. Keeping a nice bending line to that oxer. And then make sure he is straight and square back to the Ida Development double. Collect himself around that free jump island. To getting square to that plank at 8. Nice jump over 9. Walking the course, you'd have thought the plank at 8 would have caused more problems, but everybody seems to be riding that super well. He had a really nice scopy jump over that oxer at 10. It's a big square oxer there in the middle of the ring. Just making sure he's using his bend around to the double verticals at 11. And keeping the horse within his hand down to 12. Unfortunately, just picking up that 4 faults in a time of 71.65. Next, into the ring representing the US, we have Will Simpson aboard Aymare. This combination were 5th in a 3-star 2-phase in Old Salem this summer, and Will took over the ride of this horse in June of this year. So relatively new combination for him. But Will is a very experienced rider and has been jumping many different horses, so he knows exactly how to adjust to different horses. Really nice turn back to 2. You can see a lot of the riders getting a nice turn back to 2. It's important to make sure that they start this course off ahead of the time allowed and not have to chase at the end. That distance down that related line came up nice for him. He's staying tight back to the Kubota double. Drifting a little bit, but then riding that line down to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer very well. And then just keeping his line down to the Ida Developments double. Again, just collect himself around that bend to the plank. And just leaving his horse flow down to that Oxer at 9. You can see him just collect himself here, not needing to make up too much time around this bend to that square Oxer at 10. These riders will know exactly where they can make up time and where they can't. It's just important to know your horse and your horse's abilities. Good clear over the double verticals at 11, and then nicely coming down to the Oxer at 12. That gives us another clear for the US. That was a clear in a time of 71.95, giving us a total of 12 clears so far. We have 15 yet to show, and we have our 12 clears. Next, we have representing the US, we have Alex Granado aboard Helios Van Nossenhoff. This combination were the winners of a 3-star welcome stake in Kentucky and also 5th in a 5-star winning round in Traverse City this summer. This combination had a really successful tour this summer and now are returning here to Wellington to prepare for the season. Really nice over 1 and 2. Alex making sure the horse is within his hand and leg down to 3. Moving up down to that triple bar. And keeping a hold down to the Arthur Mid vertical at 4. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Keeping a canter down to that Oxer. And using his bending line down to that Ida Developments double here. Riders would have walked that line and known their horse well enough to know should they ride on an inside bend or an outside bend or a direct line. Each choosing to do whatever suits them the best to make sure they can fit that distance in. That 8 to 9 came up really nice for him, just had to flow. You can see Alex just moving up a little bit and then squaring off before this Oxer at 10. Using his corner here nicely to the double verticals. And then a nice canter down that square Oxer at 12. Really nice. That's giving us another clear in a time of 72.62. That'll give us our 13th clear as of now. Next, we have Roberta Tron-Tarfu riding Iron Maiden. Roberto is a very consistent rider, always on different horses. Really a talented rider. This combination were 6th in a 5-star in Tryon, and also 2nd in a 3-star welcome stake in Tryon also. Having a consistent summer. And now ready to take on the 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. Really nice over 1, keeping a nice turn back to 2. Opening up his canter a little bit before this triple bar at 3. And this line really nice, flowed really nice down for him there to 4. No major adjustments, just really came up nice for him and his horse. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Seemed to ride in a little bit of a direct line to the Palm Beach Oxer there. Again, down to the Ida Developments double. Keeping his canter here around the bend. To the plank at 8. And nice flowing That was really nice flowing rhythm down to that oxer at 9. Roberto continued to keep up his rhythm down to this oxer at 10. Collect himself while also having that rhythm underneath him. It's important to make sure that you have that canter underneath you, that if you do have to take an adjustment, you have some power underneath you. Really nice, and that was a really nice jump over our last oxer at 12. That's giving us another clear there and a time of 70.07.
The USA's Todd Minikis now invoking Spirit for the Spirit Group of Lakeport, Florida.
Next into the ring we have Todd Minikis aboard Kickaboo Spirits. This is a 9-year-old grey gelding. This duo were 4th in a 2-star welcome stake in Tryon this summer. Really nice turn back to 2 there. Keeping square back to this triple bar at 3. Really scopy horse this is. And really nice distance down to 4. Turning tight back to the Kubota double. This is a really big horse. You can see Todd using that bending line to make sure he fits that distance in, both to that Palm Beach Sports Oxer but also the Ida Developments double. Taking an adjustment before approaching the plank at 8. And Todd here having to take a little bit of an adjustment. You could see he landed and held a little bit, but then let the horse flow down just to get that adjustment in and not at the butt of the jump, to making sure that distance fits for him. Really nice around the corner to 10, keeping his rhythm but also keeping that contact to the flagler double of verticals. Unfortunately, just having that front jump down at the double, just coming up not the way he wanted to, and a nice jump over 12. Unfortunately, just picking up that 4 falls down that last line, but giving us a time of 71.08 for Todd Minikis. Samuel Pro goes in next on Tiffany Delaold. This combination of winners of a 3-star welcome stake in Kentucky and also double clear in a 3-star two-face in Tryon this summer. This is a seasoned partnership. They know each other quite well. Really nice canter down to 1. Nice and turn back to 2. Jumping at a little bit more of an angle, so having to come out a little bit to get that straight line to the triple bar at 3. The distance coming up nice to 4. Looks like a nice tight turn back to that Kubota double. Using that bending line to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. And again here using his bending line to the Ida Developments double. Collecting himself around the bend to the plank. Really nice. And then you can see down that line he had to really hold. As you show, like, different horses have different strides to see what you have to fit down that distance. A good canter around to that oxer at 10. And again, you see him just collecting himself before the flagler double of verticals. It's really important to get nice and square here. And then just keeping his canter down to 12. Really nice. That's giving us another clear and a time of 70.66. That is giving us a total of 15 clear so far, and we have 11 left to go. Next into the ring, representing Ireland, we have Philip McGuan. He is aboard Orphea HQ. This is a 10-year-old chestnut mare out of Emerald. This combination had a consistent summer jumping on the Major League Tour and also jumping in New York. They were third in a speed at the Silo Ridge Masters this summer. Philip getting a nice jump over 1, keeping a nice tight turn back to this area on vertical at 2. Coming out a little bit to approach this triple bar at 3. And then just pushing down this line to 4. Philip will know this horse quite well to know exactly when he needs to do downlights to make up the distances. Coming in a nice direct line to that Palm Beach Oxer from the Kubota double, and again to this out of development double. And then just collect himself around the free jump island to keep that contact at that plank at 8. And then just letting that distance come up nicely for them, floating down to 9. You can see Philip keeping his canter but also collecting his contact once again to this Oxer at 10. Making sure he keeps that canter, having that contact to the double verticals at 11. And really nice jump over that square Oxer at 12. That's giving us another clear in a time of 71.64. That is adding another Irish to the list. We already have Nicky Galligan and Simon McCarthy clear for Ireland. It's giving a total of 3 Irish into the second round of this 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. Next we have Michael Walton into the ring, and he's riding Blues RW. This combination were 6th in a 4-star Grand Prix in Ocala this summer, and also had a very consistent WEF 2024. You can see Michael really adjusting down to the Oxer at 1, making sure the horse is listening to him where he needs to adjust. Tight turn back to the area vertical at 2. Coming off that area and coming out a little bit to make sure he's straight down to that triple bar at 3. And that distance coming up really nice for him at 4. Keeping a tight bend back to the Kubota double. Making sure he's nice and straight. Riding at a really nice bending line down to that Palm Beach Sports Oxer. And coming in a little bit more direct to that Ida double. Collect himself around that free jump island there in the middle of the ring. Making sure he's square coming to this plank at 8. And then just holding, keeping that distance to number 9. He really just needed this hit there. There was no pushing to have that distance come up nicely for him. Nice movement around the corner to the Oxer at 10. Unfortunately, just a back bar, that being clipped and coming down. Just collecting himself once again before the Flagler double of verticals. And then keeping his contact down to this big Oxer at 12. Really a nice round there, just picking up the 4 faults. Also picking up 3 time faults in a time of 77.36.
Let's go 17 Hansberry and Vanessa Hood, take 2 LLC here in Wellington, first of 9 remaining.
Next into the ring we have Vanessa Hood on Klitschko 17. Vanessa recently taking over the ride of this in October from Michael Duffy. They started off their journey together at a 2-star level in Tryon and really had a consistent show there. So just growing and learning together, trying to gain some experience, both horse and rider. Vanessa having a really successful tour with the Major League so far this season, being part of some of their key podiums. Really nice over 1 and 2. Nice canter down to the triple bar at 3. And the distance for 4 coming up really nicely for her. Just keeping her canter nice and tight to the Kubota double. using her bending line to that Palm Beach Oxer. And once again using that bending line to the Ida Developments double. You can see her collecting herself once again before she comes to the plank at 8. And then just really floating down to this Oxer at 9. That was really nice. She came up really nicely for her. You can see the horse fighting her a little bit, but she's just concentrating on her job, making sure that she gets her horse to the jump at a good distance. Coming around to the double of verticals. And then just keeping her canter down to 12. Really nice there. That's giving us another clear for the US and a time of 74.45. We have a total of 17 clears so far, with 8 remaining in this class. Next into the ring, we have Abigail McCardle aboard Olympia Van Heckenhoff. This is a 10-year-old bay mare. This duo were third in a 3-star Grand Prix in Kentucky and also had top placings at a 3-star level in Tryon this summer. You can see this horse is nice and calm coming to the first jump. Really seems to be listening to Abigail. Really nice jump over 1. Nice steady rhythm. Coming back square to the area on vertical at 2. Good canter. Keeping that rhythm down to that triple bar. And just taking a little bit of an adjustment to the vertical at 4. Keeping her canter around that bend to the Kubota double. Coming at a bit of a direct line to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. And then just riding that bend to the Ida Developments double. Keeping her canter, coming around that island in the ring and then adjusting back for the plank at 8. And really having to push there at the last minute for that distance, but coming up nicely. Nice jump over 9. Keeping her canter around that bend. Getting square to that Oxer at 10. Just collecting herself here around before this double of verticals. A and B. Really nice. And then just keeping her canter down to the Oxer at 12. Really nice. That is giving us another clear in a time of 74.55. So just inside our time allowed, but she was inside it, so she will proceed to our jump off. Next, we have the USA's Andrew Wells. He's aboard Ideal H&H. He's an 11-year-old bay gelding out of Action Breaker. This combination had a top 12 finish in a 3-star 2-phase in Traverse City this summer, and we're also clearing a 4-star welcome stake in Old Salem. You can see Andrew really opening up his canter before he approaches jump 1. Really nice over 1, keeping that contact around the bend to 2. Nice bend to the triple bar at 3, and just taking a bit of a hole down that distance to 4. Nice around that bend to the Kubota double, making sure he was nice and square. Riding that bending line really nicely to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. Again, riding his bend to the Ida Developments double. Keeping his contact to this plank at 8. And then just floating down, holding the gelding in his hand down to the Oxer at 9. Opening up around the bend to 10, making sure he's square to this big Oxer. And then just collecting himself before this double of verticals. Nice over A, nice over B. Just getting that canter, the collection, down to the Oxer at 12. Very nice. There we have another clear again in a time of 70.79. Next into the ring we have Anna Cristina Gonzara into the ring on I Denzel Val Molenhoff. This combination of top placings in Ocala this summer. And we're constantly jumping at about a 3-star and 4-star level before returning here to Wellington. Just spooking off the wall a little bit down to 1. But Anna doing a really good job of making sure her horse knows where he's going. Straight down to that vertical at 2. Using her bending line here to come to that triple bar at 3. She already used her corner, used her bend around to get to that triple bar. And then just had to hold back to get fit that distance into 4. Nice tight back to the Kubota double. Using that bending line again to the Oxer. Again using the bending line to the Ida Developments double. Using her hand and leg to keep that contact down to that plank. Unfortunately, just having that down, that's the first time we've seen that plank come down today. But that distance to 9 coming up nicely for her. She's really concentrating on getting that, her horse listening to her again. Back to the Oxer at 10. Just picking up the back bar of that also. Collecting herself before the Flagler double of verticals. Nice over A. Nice over B. And then just collecting herself to the Oxer at 12. Just picking up 2 down there in a time of 74.79. Next we have Wilton Porter into the ring on Stern Mark 3, a 10-year-old bay gelding out of Staccato. This combination were clear in a 2-star large Turin Riesenbeck, but also 4th in a 2-star Grand Prix in Peelbergen this summer. Really nice over 1, making sure he has a canter and holding his horse off the vertical at 2. Using the corner to get that straight line to that triple bar at 3. And just flowing down nicely to 4. Using his bend to get straight to the Kubota double at A and B. Nice line there to the Oxer. And then using his bending line for the Ida Developments double. Collecting himself once again to the plank at 8. Having to take a little bit of an adjustment, but moving down to that line at 9. These riders will know what's best for those horses and what's best to ride these distances. A good canter around to the Oxer at 10. Just taking an adjustment, making sure his horse is listening to him back to the double verticals at 11. And then just taking a hold and a nice contact down to the Oxer at 12. Giving us another clear here in a time of 73.43. So our times are really different throughout the whole class. Some within 70 seconds, the time allowed is 75. But each rider choosing to do what suits them best and successfully going inside our time allowed and getting our clears. Next we have Australians David Cameron aboard Oaks Come By Chance, a 13-year-old chestnut gelding. This combination we're jumping in both Ocala and Tryon this summer at a 3-star level. Nice distance down to 1. Really keeping his contact. Horse seems to be a bit hot to 2. Just not the distance he wanted coming up at 2. Just recollecting himself back to the triple bar at 3. It's important when a distance comes up not the way you would like it to, just to keep concentrating on the next jump, not to dwell on the pass and the jump that didn't go to plan. Really nice over the Kubota double to the Palm Beach Oxer, keeping his contact to the Ida Development double, riding at a bit more direct line down there. Just trying to calm down a bit. That distance just not coming up the way he wanted. And just horse and rider parting ways. Both seem to be okay though. Just not the distance they wanted around that bend.
Good to see our rider up and okay. Unfortunately, the fall well wasn't.
Both horse and rider just walking out of the ring there. For David Cameron, both look okay, just not their day today.
Lebanon rider Jack Down now from the Burr Associates with Doss is his entry. Dutch bred horse.
Next, we welcome Jad Donna into the ring and Leonidas. This combination were the winners of the $10,000 Palm Beach Equine Clinic 1m40 stake on the grass a couple weeks ago here. Jad Donna is a really fast rider, so if he has that clear in the first round, he's definitely going to be one to watch in the jump off. Very consistent summer. Always at the top of his game. Really nice over one. Making sure he keeps his horse nice and quiet back to the area and vertical at 2. Keeping his canter to that triple bar at 3. Just picking up the back rail of that. His horse seemed to be a little bit sticky off the ground and just clipping that back bar. Nice and tight back to the Kubota double. Keeping a canter down to the Palm Beach Sports Oxer. Riding that bending line to the Ida Developments double. You can see him just collect himself again before he approaches this plank at 8. Really nice jump over that. And then just floating down the distance to 9. Oh, that really nice. Getting his canter up again around the bend to 10, while also keeping that contact. Good jump over that big square oxer. Collecting himself to the Flagler double of verticals. And then just keeping his canter down to that oxer at 12. Unfortunately, just picking up that 4 falls, that back bar of that triple bar at 3. But overall, a really good, nice, smooth round for this duo. Alessandra Volpe is in next. She's aboard Candy Luxie. This combination have consistently jumped at a 5-star level in both Traverse City and New York this summer. Alessandra jumping on the Major League Tour this year also. Having a really consistent summer. Really scopy jump over 1. Just keeping her horse between her hand and leg back to the area and vertical at 2. Using this corner to get the distance straight to the triple bar at 3. And just holding down to that vertical at 4. You can see her just taking a hold of her horse before the Kubota double. This horse seems to be a little bit hot. She's just concentrating, making sure her horse is listening to her. And then just holding down to the Ida Developments double. You can see her there taking an adjustment before approaching this plank at 8. Nice canter down. Keeping a flowing canter down to 9 to that oxer. Getting square to that big oxer at 10. You can see her just adjusting her horse back, trying to calm them down a little bit before approaching this double of verticals at 11. And then just letting the floating down to that oxer at 12. Really nice there. That's giving us another clear for the US in this Arthur Vets 3-star Grand Prix qualifiers. That gives us our 21st clear in this class. We have one left in the first round of this 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. That is Richie Maloney aboard Cocoa Beach. This combination were recently third in a 3-star Grand Prix in Tryon. But also having a consistent summer in both Traverse City and Tryon in Kentucky this year. You can see Richie really opening up his canter here before he approaches jump 1, making sure his horse has that rhythm underneath him. So if he does need to take that adjustment. Unfortunately, just picking up the front bar of that oxer at 1. It's important to concentrate then on number 2, making sure he was nice and square. Keeping his canter to the triple bar at 3. And then just adjusting back to fit in that distance for 4. Keeping it tight. Turn back to the Kubota double. And then just using that line, unfortunately just having the front bar of that oxer down before approaching the Ida Developments double. Just seemed to come up a little bit fast for him. And then floating down to this oxer at 9. That distance came up really nice for him. Richie just taking up his contact again, making sure his horse is listening before approaching this big oxer. Unfortunately, just running a little bit deep there and having that down. Keeping square to the Flagler double of verticals. And then just having the front bar at 12 down also. That is giving him a total of 16 faults and 3 times all falls also in a time of 77.77. He was our last in our first round of this 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. We have a total of 21 clear so far, and they will also return to our jump off. We have a selection of different nations, some from Ireland, some for the US. The ring will get some maintenance now. Some jumps will be removed before the jump off, and then we will be back for our jump off of 21 people.
I'm an athlete, But I don't play with sticks or balls. My equipment breathes. It has a heart and a mind of its own. My equipment has good days and not so good days, and it's my job to be okay with both. Because my equipment works with me, not for me. In the saddle, our hearts sync and we become one. My equipment is my best friend. I'd do anything for my best friend. Ask your veterinarian about Arthromed Vet for joint health.
Bainbridge is a fully integrated family of real estate companies who have developed and acquired more than 43,000 units representing $7.5 billion in transactions since inception. With over 650 associates nationally, Bainbridge engages in virtually every step of the real estate process, from development and construction, acquisition and disposition, to asset management and third-party property management of multifamily real estate. Bainbridge is the 10th largest multifamily developer and the 14th largest multifamily builder in the United States. Our team of experienced and knowledgeable professionals is devoted to creating exceptional living experiences for all of our residents and building lasting, mutually beneficial relationships with our partners and clients. To learn more, visit www.bainbridgecompanies.com.
My first goal when I decided to be a professional, it's to become like the best horsewoman I can be. It's really important for me to find a balance with my family, with the horses, that is my passion. Work with the horses every day to do what I love. I used to have like one passion was the horses, and now I have two with my daughter. So I really want to have this balance in my life. I'm Marie Ecart, I'm a professional show jumper representing France, and I'm Lola's mom. Be mindful, be present, turn on your brain.
Having been a rider and showing on the East Coast in the hunter jumper worlds on the A circuit, coupled with my experience as an insurance professional with 30 years in the industry, I'm the lucky one that gets to marry my career with my passion. And at Flagler, I get the resources that I really need to do my job as best as possible. I'm Missy Sullivan, the director of the equine division at Flagler Insurance, and I look forward to helping all of you with your insurance needs.
Every day, we get up with one thing on our minds: taking care of the horses we love. Safe Choice continues to be your trusted partner in their overall nutrition, supporting a healthy body, shiny coat, and strong top line. And now with Digestive Shield, it supports your horse's gut health and immune system even more, so they look and feel their best. Safe Choice, now with Digestive Shield. Shield your horse from the inside out.
There's a gentler side of Florida, just waiting for you to discover it, where America's first resort destination was built and genuine hospitality began. A place with cleaner sands, warmer waters, and fewer crowds. A place different than the rest, one that exceeds, excels, and surpasses all expectation, waiting here just for you. We are the original, the one, the only, the Palm Beaches.
Welcome back to Wellington International. My name is Ellen Sweetenham and we're here for the jump off of the 3-star Grand Prix Qualifier. We had a total of 21 clear in this class, 2 electing not to come back for the jump off, so we'll see 19 of those. We would like to extend a huge thank you to Arthur Midvet for their continued support. Arthur Midvet is a trusted name in veterinary medicine around the world. A joint injection that delivers cutting-edge treatment that improves joint health in horses and dogs, including both early and late stages of synovitis and osteoarthritis. To learn more about ArthurMid, go to www.arthurmid.com. We're continuing with some ring maintenance here, just the tractors putting in their last touches before exiting the ring. We will see 19 back for the second round. This jump off course will begin over jump number 1, then around the bend to the Ariane vertical at 2, bypassing our triple bar at 3 and going straight to our Artemed Vet vertical at 4. Coming back to the Kubota double at 5A and B, and then they will loop back to number 12. That was our last jump in the first round. And then turning back to number 14, which is a new jump in the second round, which is our Palm Beach Equine Clinic vertical there in the middle of the ring. And then they will canter down to our Rainbow Oxer at number 15, which is also a new jump in the course. Time allowed set for the jump off at 50 seconds. We would hope that this won't be an issue in the jump off. We'll see many fast riders such as Lacey Gilbertson, who had our win in the 3-star Grand Prix in Traverse City this summer. Delaney Flynn really on form this summer, coming here back into Wellington. We will welcome our first rider in for this jump off. First into the ring will be Luis Fernando Lazabel aboard Bernandes. Luis is a really fast rider, so we'll really see him test this course and see where the tight turns and where you can really make up time is. You can see him just looking at a few of the distances here, like the turn back from that Kubota double at 5 back to the Oxer at 12. Just opening his canter before he approaches to jump on. It's important in these jump off classes to make sure that you hit the ground running, get that good canter the first jump. Really nice over 1. Using his outside leg to get a nice turn back to the Ariane vertical at 2. Really opening up here. Down to the Artemed vertical. Unfortunately, that distance just not coming up the way he wanted it to. You can see him just collecting himself again. It looks like he might retire. Just giving the horse a little bit of a pat. Collecting himself, making sure the horse is okay. Getting a good canter back. Before approaching back over jump number 2. So just choosing to retire after the distance to number 4 not coming up the way he wanted it to. He'll still qualify for the Grand Prix on Sunday, so it's just about gaining some experience inside in this ring. Second of our 19 in this jump off here is Richard Neal aboard Kate McCoy LS. This combination put in a nice time in the first round. So we'll see what they do here in the second round. Richard really opening up his canter before he comes to jump number 1. Keeping a very light hand there. Nice over 1. Using his outside leg once again to get a nice jump across the Ariane vertical at 2. Getting a nice slice across the vertical there. Opening up his canter a little bit, but keeping that contact to the Arthur Mid-Vet vertical of 4. Nice turn back to the Kubota double. Just collecting himself, making sure he's a nice turn back to the Oxer at 12. Opening up a little bit, but continuing to keep having that contact with his horse. There's a big vertical in the middle of the ring. Really nice jump over that. And then just opening up a little bit down to this Oxer. Really nice. That's giving us a double clear in a time of 43.43. Really nice round there. Not too fast, not going for it as much as some may, but a really, really nice collected round for him. Showing his horse back into this ring after spending the summer away from here. Nikki Galligan is in next, representing Ireland. Aboard VDL Nikita van der Leckach. Nikki just picking up his canter there. Making sure his horse is nice and open coming to this first jump. Nice over 1, having that inside raid on to get that turn to 2. Really nice turn to 2, really opening up now. Pushing his horse down to the Arthur Mid-Vet vertical of 4. Distance not quite what he would have wanted, but got over it. Nice to the double of verticals at 5. Nice turn back to the Oxer at 12. And choosing to go between the Kubota double back to the Palm Beach Equine Clinic vertical there. And then just really opening up down to the Oxer. Unfortunately, just not getting straight there. And the horse just not having his eye on it. Just looping back around now. Getting his angle to it correctly. The jump is quite colourful, obviously, but it has a gap in the middle, which some horses may look at and be a bit apprehensive about. It's just making sure to have that contact down to that new jump. That jump also wasn't in the first round, so it's not a jump these horses have seen already. Just picking up the 4 false there. Delaney Flynn will be in next, and Namamiya. This combination had a very consistent summer. And Delaney just here collecting herself, making sure her horse is underneath her before approaching number 1. Nice open canter along the long side before approaching our first jump. Nice tight turn back to number 2. Getting a nice slice across that vertical. Delaney opening up her canter a little bit while keeping that contact back to the vertical at 4. Very tight turn back to the Kubota double. Moving up as she lands, making sure she has a rhythm underneath her for the Oxer at 12. Really pushing now around the Kubota double. Getting her horse in her hand once again, making sure she has a contact over that vertical. And really nice double jump over that Oxer. That's giving her a clear in a time of 44.14. That slots her into second place as of now. Our 5th of 19 in this jump off is Hallie Grimes aboard Chicago PS. This is a seasoned partnership. These two know each other very well. And Hallie really getting her horse collected down to the first jump. Keeping her canter around that bend to 2. Hallie did a really good job of keeping her canter while also slicing across number 2. Smooth canter down to the Arthur Mid-Vet. Vertical at 4. Tight back to this Kubota double. Doing a really good job there. Keeping her canter around this bend to this big oxer. It's important, even though you might be turning tight, that you keep that canter underneath you so your horse has that power. Really nice that vertical there. And just keeping that rhythm with that contact down to our last oxer there. Really nice clear there in a time of 42.65. That slots her straight up to first place. Next into the ring for the US is Charlotte Jacobs. She is aboard Playboy GTZ. Charlotte just looking at that turn there from the double back to the oxer at 12. It's nice to go in and see exactly what you have to do in this jump off. Charlotte just collecting her canter down the middle of the ring, making sure her horse is listening to her, while also having that open canter down to the first jump. Really nice to 1. Keeping that canter with the contact to 2. Opening up really nicely down to the Arthur Midvet. Vertical 4. Unfortunately, just having that down with the front rail. Still continuing on with a good turn back to the Kubota double. Charlotte doesn't know how many clears there's going to be, so it's important to keep up the pace. You still might get a placing with 1 down. She keeps cruising around that Kubota double. Really nice jump over that vertical at 14. And a nice rhythm down to that oxer. That was really fast. She had 4 falls, unfortunately, but in a time of 41.04. She is our fastest time so far, but unfortunately just picking up that 1 down. Next, for the US, we have Alexandra Worthington. You can see her really opening up her canter. It's really nice to see all those riders knowing that from coming to the first jump, they're really attacking the course. Keeping that rhythm underneath her. Back to the Ariane vertical at 2. Nice canter pass or engage to the Arthur Midvet vertical at 4. Keeping the rhythm with a nice tight turn back to the Kubota double. Nice rhythm back to 12. She's nice pushing around the corner to the Palm Beach equine vertical and just really going on that rhythm down. That came up really nicely for her. That's giving us a clear in a time of 39.44. Puts her straight into the lead. Really fast time there. That's our fastest time so far. As of now, Alexandra Worthington is in the lead. Hallie Grimes is in second. Richard Neal's in third. Delaney Flynn stands in fourth. And then Charlotte Jacobs is our fastest 4-faulter in fifth. And Nikki Galligan is in sixth. Next, we welcome Irish rider Simon McCarthy. Simon is historically a very fast rider, so it will be interesting to see what he does here. This duo have had several top placings in speed classes, so it's definitely something that is one of their strengths. Simon choosing to come to number 1 as a nice collected canter. Really tight back to 2. Opening up his canter down to this vertical. Just taking adjustment to make sure his horse is underneath him. It's a very big vertical by the in-gate also, so you just have to watch that. Tight back to the Kubota double. Choosing to go inside the equine vertical, which is the first we've seen. Really nice over that oxer. Speedy around the Kubota double. Back to the vertical of 14. And really cruising down to the oxer at 15. Really fast. Straight into the lead at 36.57. That's shaving 3 seconds off our now second place. So Simon slots straight into the lead. And I'm sure that'll be the time that people will be chasing for the rest of the class. Next we have Natalie Dean aboard Concalma. This duo have been consistent in Europe this summer. Natalie coming to the first jump at a really nice canter. Really nice rhythm over that. Really nice scope. This horse jumps super nice. Tight turn back to the Arion vertical. Opening up a little bit. But really nice to the Artemis Vet. Vertical at 4. Horse is fighting her a little bit, but she does a really good job of pointing them in the right direction, making sure they're straight to that Kubota double. Floating around to number 12. You can see her just opening up a little bit now. Getting that canter, getting that rhythm down to this vertical. And then just pushing up down to the last line. Really nice there. Really nice double clear in a time of 42.85. That slots her into 4th place. Really smooth, really clear around there. Really nice rhythm throughout the whole course. Next we have Lacey Gilbertson. She's aboard Hollywood. This duo really know each other really well. They've had a consistent summer. And are really, coming back to Wellington now, preparing for the season ahead. Lacey opening up a little bit down to number 1. Jumping at a little bit of an angle to get that turn back to 2. Really nice over 2. Choosing to open up down this line, but keeping that contact. It's important down to this vertical that you have that contact while also opening up down to it. Nice tight turn back to that Kubota double. Getting a nice angle there, going inside the equine, Palm Beach equine vertical. Really nice jump over 12. Scooting around that Kubota double back the vertical 14. A nice open canter down to this oxer at 15. Really nice there. Really nice double clear there for Lacey. In a time of 41.83, that slots her into 3rd place as of now. Next in, we will have Will Simpson aboard Eimar, representing the US. This is a relatively new combination, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Nice turn over 1. You can see him opening his hand to get that turn back to 2. Opening up his canter down this line to our vertical. Really nice shot at that. The distance came up really well for him. Tight turn back to the Kubota double. Choosing to go around number 14 to this oxer at 12. Yeah, nicely going around the Kubota double. Opening up his canter though. Nice shot there. Unfortunately, just having it down was a little bit far off. Unfortunately, just picking up that 4 false in a time of 39.45. So it was super fast. Would have put him into 3rd place if he hadn't had that jump down. But slotting him into 8th for now. Next, we welcome a very fast rider. Alex Granado was in next on Helios Van Nassenoff. Alex has had several wins at all FEI levels. He's a really, really fast rider. Really consistent with his horses. Nice angle to 1. You can see he jumped 1 at a nice angle, so he gets a good turn back to the iron vertical. Unfortunately, just having that vertical down, just as distant he wants, didn't really come up for him. But keeping cruising around, you can see him just bypassing that Kubota double there. I would say he's probably choosing to elect to retire, keeping the horse for the Grand Prix on Sunday. With the amount of clears in this, double clears in this cast so far, he probably just choosing to retire to keep the horse for Sunday with some fresh legs. Our first of 6 left in this jump off is Roberto Turan. He's aboard Iron Maiden. Roberto just looking at that turn back to 12. Some have chosen to go inside the Palm Beach Equine Clinic vertical back to 12. Some going at a fast pace around. Our current leader, Simon McCarthy, did go inside it. Roberto getting a nice jump over 1. Jumping at the right hand side of it to get the turn back to the RM vertical. You can see him opening up his reins there, opening up his canter. And then just a couple strides out, collecting himself to that vertical. Keeping a good pace around to the Kubota double. He choosing to go inside our vertical of 14. Really nice jump over 12. That was really well executed. Going between our Kubota double back to number 14. Really nice shot at that. And just leaving him canter down to the last jump at 15. Very nice. Clear in a time of 38.25. That was a really, really smooth jump off. Really fast. Unfortunately, just not fast enough to beat Simon McCarthy as of now. But really impressive round. Next, we have Chile's Samuel Perot on Tiffany Dalloldi. Opening up his canter before he approaches number 1. You could see him come out a little bit to jump that at the angle, to slice across, to be able to slice back to number 2. Really nice jump over 2, little kickback, but keeping that down to the Arthmid Vet. Vertical of 4, tight back to the Kubota double. What he's going to do here, he chooses to go around 14, which if you keep your pace, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be slower. It might be faster to you to just go around. He's keeping his pace then around the Kubota double to that vertical at 14, and then down to our new Oxer at 15. There we have it, clear in a time of 39.16. So just not fast enough to beat first and second, but still fast and slotting him into 3rd place as of now. He will have known his horse enough to know if it was worth going inside or around. Some horses are faster, opening up their stride around to that Oxer. Some riders know that they're better off tighter than opening up their canter. Next we have Vanessa Hood for the US. Aboard Klitschko 17. As I said in the first round, this is a new combination. The two of them are learning together, but really hitting the ground running, doing a super job so far. Really nice over 1. Keeping that collected back. Canter back to the Ariane vertical at 2. Opening up her canter slightly, but really keeping a nice contact. Down to the Arthmid Vets. Vertical at 4. Nice around the bend to the Kubota double. Choosing to go around, but nice. Opening up her canter around to 12. Really nice jump over that Oxer. Just collecting herself back around that Kubota double back to the Palm Beach Equine Clinic vertical at 14, and then opening up down to that Oxer at 15. Really nice double clear there. Really smooth. That was in a time of 43.23. We have 3 remaining in our jump off of this 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. Just waiting for our next rider to enter the ring. Next, we have USA's Abigail McCardle on Olympia Van Heckenhoff. Abigail really calm entering the ring, making sure her horse is nice and calm and not stressed coming into this big ring. Getting a nice canter down to jump 1. Nice turn back to the Ariane vertical. Nice slice across and opening up her canter down to this Arthmid Vet. Vertical of 4. Tight back to the Kubota double. Slicing across and going inside number 14. Back to number 12. A little bit far off, but the horse was good. Keeping her collection back to the vertical of 14. And then really opening up her canter down to 15. Really nice and fast. Clear in a time of 38.29. That slots her into 3rd place as of now. Our first of 2 remaining. This is Wilton Porter aboard Sternmark 3. This combination had a consistent summer together in Europe. And are now coming back here in our 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. Wilton having a nice canter down to jump 1. Good turn back to 2. Really opening up his canter there for the first couple of strides after 2. And then as he approaches that vertical, he's adjusting himself back to make sure his horse is square. Good tight turn to the Kubota double. Nice turn inside 14 back to this Oxer at 12. Opening up around the Kubota double back to the Palm Beach Equine Clinic vertical at 14. And keeping his canter down to the Oxer at 15. Really nice clear there in a time of 40.21. You can really see this jump off has been super fast. Not that much time between all of these riders. Cy McCarthy still holds the lead in a time of 36.57. We welcome our last rider into the ring, Alessandra Volpi, aboard Candy Luck Z. Sheila's going to be after watching all the rest of the riders go, so she'll know exactly what she needs to do. It seems like the pattern is to go inside after the double back to number 12. But it also depends on your horse. If your horse is faster going around, it may be best to go around. She took a nice jump to 1, getting that angle off the corner, getting a really good turn back to that Ariane vertical, opening up her distance down to this Arthur Midvet vertical at 4. Tight to the Gabota double. You can see her turning over there, choosing to go inside back to number 12. Really nice tight turn, unfortunately just clipping the back bar of that oxer. She's just collecting herself then back to the vertical and then a nice distance down to the oxer at 15. Unfortunately just picking up that 4 false in a time of 37.99. Really fast time there, would have slotted her into second place if she was clear. Unfortunately just having that 1 jump down. Simon McCarthy is our winner of today's 3-star Grand Prix qualifier, kindly sponsored by Arthur Midvet. Second place will go to Roberta Turan. Third to Abigail McCardle. Fourth to Samuel Perot. Fifth to Alexandra Worlington. Sixth to Wilton Porter. Seventh to Lacey Gilbertson. Eighth to Hallie Grimes. Ninth to Natalie Dean. And 10th place to Vanessa Hood. We had a total of 12 double clears, which is really nice to see. Good jumping here in Wellington to start back our pre-charity week here. It's an exciting week here, and we'll be back for our Grand Prix on Sunday. To wrap up today's jumping, we would like to send a huge thank you to Arthur Midvets for their support of today's 3-star Grand Prix qualifier. Arthur Midvet is a trusted name in veterinary medicine around the world. A joint injection that delivers cutting-edge treatment that improves joint health in horses and dogs, including both early and late stages of synovitis and osteoarthritis. Learn more at www.arthurmid.com. We'd also like to extend a huge thank you to Flagler Insurance Equine Division, is a proud sponsor of the 2024 annual series here at Wellington. Macy Sullivan's experience both on horse and insuring them has made her a leading expert in equine insurance nationally. Demonstrating commitment and dedication to her clients, she consistently delivers the high-touch private client experience that top riders, trainers, and equestrian organizations have come to expect. Lastly, we would like to thank our supporting sponsor, Palm Beach County Sports Commission. The Palm Beaches is home to some of the nation's premier equestrian sports facilities and events. Discover a variety of high-quality sports venues while being swept away by the warm breeze and world-renowned accommodations. All this in the tropical paradise called the Palm Beaches. For more information or to arrange a site visit, please go to palmbeachsports.com. Thank you everybody for watching. Please tune in tomorrow to watch our speed stake to continue the FEI jumping here at the 3-star week at Wellington International.